how the universe tests you before changing your reality. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like everything was falling apart right before everything changed? What if those moments weren't punishment, but preparation? In today's video, how the universe tests you. Before changing your reality, we explore the hidden wisdom behind life's toughest tests, and how your inner transformation is often the key to unlocking a new external reality. If this resonates with your journey, comment below. I trust the process, and let us know how life has been testing you lately. Make sure to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more content that empowers your growth and spiritual awakening. 1. Life isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. What you often mistake for punishment is, in truth, preparation. Life doesn't randomly bring pain. It orchestrates experiences to sharpen your soul for what you've asked for. You may be striving, hoping, praying for a breakthrough, but nothing moves. Instead, you're met with resistance, silence, or even loss. It's in these moments, when things feel stuck or unbearable, that the universe is not ignoring you. It's constructing the version of you that can carry the reality you've been asking for. Carl Jung taught that real transformation doesn't begin when your mind decides. It begins when your unconscious is ready. You may consciously desire success, love, peace, or change. But if the deeper layers of your psyche are still burdened by fear, doubt, or unresolved wounds, you will unknowingly block what you seek. The universe isn't withholding your dreams out of cruelty. It's waiting for your energy to align with them. That alignment happens not through forcing or pretending, but through inner integration. This is why certain chapters in your life feel repetitive. You attract the same kind of people, fall into the same patterns, face the same emotional storms. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're still being trained. You're still in the process of building spiritual and emotional muscle. The universe sends the same test until your reaction changes, until you respond with consciousness instead of fear, with self-respect instead of desperation. Consider a person who keeps searching for love, but ends up with emotionally unavailable partners. On the surface, they seem ready, but deep down, they still carry an unconscious story. Love abandons me, or I have to earn love by proving my worth. The universe responds not to their wish list, but to their unconscious frequency. So it brings mirrors, not punishments. And when those mirrors break them open, it's not to destroy them, but to reveal the very beliefs that must be dissolved. In this way, the universe is a wise teacher. It doesn't operate on your timeline, it operates on your alignment. If you're asking for something massive, something life-altering, then you must become the version of you who won't crumble under the weight of it. That means letting go of old identities. That means sitting in discomfort. That means being stripped of illusions so that clarity can take root. Carl Jung saw life not as a series of random moments, but as a process of individuation, a journey where your outer world reflects the integration of your inner self. Every delay, every loss, every confusing season is part of that sacred path. You aren't stuck. You're being stripped, purified, and recalibrated. What you're going through is the initiation before the expansion. The tests come first, then the rewards. But the greatest reward isn't just what you receive, it's who you become along the way. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What in me is being strengthened?" Every challenge is a portal. Every silence is a classroom. And when the time is right, not when your ego demands it, but when your soul is aligned, everything you've asked for will arrive. Not a moment too early and never too late. Are you ready to trust that what feels like delay is actually divine preparation? If so, comment below. I trust the process to affirm your commitment to inner growth and breakthrough. 2. Before the shift comes the silence. You may think nothing is happening when your world goes quiet. No signs, no progress, no breakthroughs, just stillness. But this isn't punishment. It's not a failure. This is the sacred space known as the void. It's that in-between phase where everything feels frozen, yet beneath the surface, something powerful is shifting. According to the principle of rhythm in Hermetic philosophy, life moves like a pendulum. It swings backward before it moves forward. This means that the stillness you're experiencing is part of the universal rhythm. It's the preparation before expansion, the darkness before the dawn, the winter before the spring. In this space, you may feel isolated, uncertain, or even abandoned. People may disappear. Opportunities may dry up. Your confidence may start to crack. But this too is the test. The universe is pulling you inward, not to break you, but to build you. The spiritual wisdom in this is simple. The silence isn't the end. It's the foundation. Just like a seed breaks open in the dark before it ever reaches the light, your transformation is unfolding where no one can see it, not even you. Carl Jung taught that change begins when the unconscious becomes conscious. But that awakening doesn't happen in noise. It happens in solitude. That's why life goes silent before it shifts. In that silence, your ego has less control. You begin to see things more clearly. The illusions fall away, and your soul begins to take the lead. The void becomes a mirror, reflecting your deepest fears, beliefs, and desires, not to shame you, but to cleanse you. To strip away what no longer belongs so that you can finally become who you were meant to be. This is the moment where you're not just waiting for life to change, you are being changed. Not externally, but internally. You're being stretched, refined, rewired, so that when the breakthrough comes, it doesn't just visit you, it stays with you. Because now, you're finally able to hold it. The universe never withholds blessings. It simply waits until you're energetically ready to receive them. And that readiness is forged in the stillness, not the striving. What makes this phase so difficult is that modern life tells us progress must look like movement. We're taught that growth equals action. But true transformation often looks like doing nothing, like sitting in the quiet, like trusting when there's no evidence. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, knowing that what appears empty may be the most full moment of your life. That silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening in a way your eyes can't yet see. So if you're in that pause, don't rush out of it. Don't try to force clarity or grasp for signs. Sit with it. Listen to it. Let it do its work on you. Because once you pass this test of trust and surrender, life begins to move again, and it moves in your favor. You don't just return to where you were. You rise, higher, deeper, wiser. Aligned not with your fears, but with your soul. That's when reality begins to shift, not just around you, but through you. If you're ready to trust the stillness and honor the rhythm of life, comment below. I embrace the silence before the shift. This moment of stillness is sacred. Let it prepare you for what's coming. 3. The test is internal, not external. The universe doesn't test your worth. It tests your readiness. It doesn't care about how perfect you look on the outside, how much you've achieved, or how confident you pretend to be. What it truly cares about is whether you are aligned with your truth. When you're going through emotional pain, when people disappoint you, or when everything around you feels stuck, it's not a punishment. It's a mirror. Life is reflecting the unhealed parts of you that are still clinging to illusions, attachments, false identities, and the need for control. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what happens when we ignore the inner tests that life presents to us. What triggers you emotionally isn't the real problem. The real issue lies beneath the surface in the wounds you haven't yet healed, in the stories you keep telling yourself, and in the expectations that were never really yours to begin with. Rejection, for example, may feel like someone turning their back on you. But on a deeper level, it's often a sign that you've been outsourcing your self-worth to their validation. The universe removes what you cling to, not to hurt you, but to show you that you never needed it in the first place. What you thought was loss is often liberation in disguise. Stagnation is another internal test. When things stop moving, when your plans don't go forward, and life seems unresponsive, it's easy to panic or spiral into self-doubt. But maybe the delay is sacred. Maybe the stillness is life protecting you from making a move that isn't aligned with your soul's highest path. It's in this space that spiritual awakening happens. The silence between what you thought you wanted and what you're truly meant for creates the room for self-awareness to grow. As the mystic Rumi said, "Don't grieve. Anything you lose comes round in another form." That is the essence of trust, believing that what is taken from you is not the end, but the start of your transformation. Each emotional trigger is a doorway. Each disappointment is a compass. Each setback is a spiritual checkpoint. The question is not, "Why is this happening to me?" but what belief, story, or pattern is being exposed through this experience. This is the turning point. When you can sit with your discomfort and ask, "What is this showing me about myself?" you shift from victimhood to empowerment. You stop resisting reality and begin to shape it with clarity and intention. That's when the universe opens new doors. Not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with the frequency that matches your next level. The test is always internal. It's about choosing awareness over reaction, surrender over control, presence over fear. Spiritual awakening means you no longer interpret pain as failure, but as feedback. You start recognizing that your external world is only responding to the depth of your inner world. And the more clarity, self-respect, and peace you cultivate within, the less chaos you attract outside. When you stop trying to fix the world and instead choose to face yourself honestly, everything around you begins to shift naturally. If you're ready to pass the test within and rise beyond the illusion of control, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's heal together, grow together, and trust the timing of the universe. 4. You must respond, not react. Spiritual awakening is not about escaping emotions. It's about responding to them with new awareness. You used to react in the heat of the moment, angry words, anxious decisions, silent withdrawals. But now, something in you pauses. Something waits. You've begun to notice the space between what happens and what you choose. That space is power. And in that space, your new self is born. As Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your past reactions weren't flaws. They were patterns shaped by wounds, fear, and old survival instincts. But every time you pause, breathe, and respond with clarity instead of chaos, you break the cycle. You reclaim your energy. The universe will always check your growth. It sends familiar storms, the same temptations, the same silences, the same disrespect. But this time, you don't flinch. You don't fight back. You don't run. You hold yourself. That's the test. Can you hold your center when nothing outside you makes sense? Can you walk through confusion without demanding answers? That is what transformation looks like. Stillness in the noise. Calm in the chaos. Silence that's not fear, but power. You're not here to prove yourself to anyone anymore. You're not here to win every argument or chase every closure. Sometimes, the real flex is in not engaging, in keeping your dignity, in choosing your peace over your pride. And while others may think you're silent because you're weak, you know the truth you're silent because you no longer need to shout to be heard. The noise is gone from your spirit. Let's say someone close to you does the very thing that used to send you spiraling, rejects you, criticizes you, abandons you. The old you would panic. The old you would over-explain, over-please, overthink. But now, you breathe. You listen. You feel the emotion rise, but you no longer let it own you. You feel sadness, but it doesn't drown you. You feel anger, but it doesn't define you. You simply respond with grace, with strength, with knowing. That's the shift. Not the disappearance of pain, but the mastery of it. Carl Jung's work reminds us that growth begins when you stop blaming the world and start examining the lens through which you see it. And that lens, over time, becomes clearer, not through comfort, but through the tension that stretches you. You become resilient, not by avoiding triggers, but by facing them and no longer being ruled by them. Your story no longer controls you. You rewrite it as you go. Real growth isn't visible on the outside. It's in the moment you choose not to send that reactive text. The moment you walk away with peace instead of needing to be right. The moment you no longer internalize someone else's mood as your fault. Those small choices, repeated consistently, rebuild your identity. And the universe takes note. Not with applause, but with new levels of alignment. Because now, you've shown that your peace is no longer situational, it's sacred. Do you feel the shift within you of the quiet strength to respond, not react? If this message speaks to your soul, declare it in the comments. I choose to respond with peace. 5. Pain is a sign of shedding the old self. Pain is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of transformation. When life begins to shift and your emotions intensify, you are not falling apart. You are shedding everything that is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. The emotional weight pressing down on you is the release of outdated roles, attachments, and self-perceptions. The discomfort is the ego resisting its own dissolution, clinging to identities built from fear, survival, and conditioning. But this resistance is exactly what Carl Jung warned us about when he said, "What you resist persists. What you accept transforms." This is not simply a quote, it's a roadmap through the spiritual fires of rebirth. What you're experiencing is the sacred unraveling of your former self. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. In moments of deep pain, your soul is whispering, make space for something greater. And yet, Most people misinterpret this phase. They think something's gone wrong. But in truth, you are being emptied to hold something far more expensive than what you were settling for. Your nervous system is not malfunctioning. It's being rewired. Your sadness, your fear, your confusion, these are not breakdowns. They are signals of a breakthrough. The old self can't carry the frequency of the life you've asked for. If you want expansion, the container must grow. If you want peace, the chaos within must be exposed. You don't get to rise while staying the same. You must be stripped, undone, remade. This spiritual wisdom is not easy to live through, but it is the only way to embody your higher self. When everything feels like it's collapsing, when nothing feels certain, when all your anchors seem to vanish, that is the void. And the void is not a curse. It is a portal. It's the space where the old identity dies and the new one is still forming. The problem is, we often resist the void. We run from it. We numb it. We try to rebuild what we lost. But the universe won't let you go backward when your soul is ready for more. So it tests you not to see if you're worthy, but to help you recognize your own strength. It strips away false comfort so you can find real peace. It takes away distractions so you can meet yourself in silence. This is not a breakdown. It's a divine reordering. Think about the person who finally leaves the relationship that drained their spirit. At first, there's relief. But then come the waves of doubt, grief, fear. It feels like everything inside them is breaking. But that pain is not regression. It's recalibration. Their soul is adjusting to a new frequency of self-worth, one that doesn't tolerate being unseen. Or the person who quits the job that suffocated their creativity. The uncertainty feels unbearable. But what's really happening is that their energy is being redirected toward purpose and alignment. When you stop resisting what's leaving, you begin to receive what's meant. Acceptance doesn't mean you love the pain. It means you trust its purpose. You start asking deeper questions, not, why is this happening to me? But what is this trying to awaken in me? That shift in perception is where the transformation begins. This is spiritual awakening, not something magical that happens overnight, but a raw, soul-level initiation that redefines who you are. You are not breaking down. You are becoming whole. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding everything you are not. And though it hurts, that pain is sacred. It is carving out space within you for the truth of your being to rise. This is not the end. It is the sacred beginning of your next chapter. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on how your deepest pain is often the beginning of your transformation. And if you're ready to release the old and rise into your true self, comment below. I welcome the new me. 6. True transformation happens in the void. The void is not emptiness, it is sacred space. While many fear this phase because it lacks clarity, results, or validation, it is, in truth, the crucible of transformation. The void strips away your ego's need for applause and demands something deeper. Presence without proof, purpose without reward. In this quiet realm, your soul is not just waiting, it is being reshaped. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The universe isn't testing your desire, it's refining your identity. It watches not for what you wish to receive, but for who you become when nothing seems to be working. When you feel invisible, when no one affirms you, when outcomes delay, and the silence grows louder, that is the moment of spiritual awakening. It is here that you are asked to remain truthful, consistent, and aligned even when nothing is guaranteed? Can you keep your heart open when it's easier to shut down? Can you act with integrity when no one is watching? This is where the old self dissolves, and the new self is born not through comfort, but through conscious surrender. And that surrender is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." The void forces you inward. It removes distractions so that you may meet yourself without illusion. There, you realize that everything you thought you needed, recognition, progress, signs, is secondary to what you actually need. Clarity of soul, rootedness in being. This inner clarity is what shifts your outer world. When you no longer seek external validation, you become truly unshakable. The void teaches you that the peace you were searching for was never out there. It was waiting to be remembered within you. Throughout history, the most awakened beings were formed in the void. Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. Buddha found enlightenment through silence and stillness. Jung encountered his deepest insights in solitude. They didn't skip this stage, they embraced it. And that is why their transformation endured. Because they didn't just want change, they became the vessel capable of holding it. This is what the universe asks of you: to hold yourself with grace when there is no applause, to be your own anchor when everything is uncertain. This space, this silence, this sacred pause is not the end. It is the hidden beginning of something vast and powerful. If you're walking through it now, do not rush the process. Let it shape you. Let it soften you. Let it burn away what is not you. Because when the shift finally comes, you will not just step into a new reality, you will step into it as someone entirely new. And that, above all, is what the void was preparing you for. If this message speaks to your soul, declare it with faith. I am becoming who I'm meant to be, even in the silence. I trust the void is sacred. Type it in the comments to affirm your transformation. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a message meant just for you. 7. Manifestation is about embodiment, not wishing. You don't manifest by wishing, hoping, or demanding. You manifest by embodying. That means becoming, right now, the version of yourself who already lives in the reality you desire. The law of attraction doesn't respond to your surface thoughts or desperate requests. It responds to the frequency you consistently radiate. As Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your energy, not your words, is what the universe listens to. Manifestation is not about shouting your desires louder. It's about aligning your emotional and energetic state with the reality you claim to want. If you're asking for peace, but your inner world is full of resistance, reactivity, or chaos, there's a contradiction. You say you want love, but your nervous system is bracing for heartbreak. You say you want abundance, but your body is still carrying the frequency of lack. The universe is not fooled by declarations. It responds to consistency. Your energy has to tell one clear story. This is where most people unconsciously sabotage themselves. Their desires speak one language, but their frequency speaks another. Think about it like this. There's a woman named Sarah who repeats affirmations every morning about finding a healthy, loving relationship. She's doing the journaling, the vision boards, the meditations. But deep down, she doesn't trust love. She's been betrayed before. Her body tightens when she thinks about vulnerability. So even though her mind says, "I want love," her energy says love isn't safe. That's the frequency the universe hears, not the pretty words, the emotional truth beneath them. Carl Jung would call this the influence of the shadow of those unseen, unresolved patterns that run our lives until we consciously integrate them. To truly manifest something new, you have to become a new version of yourself. That's not about pretending or faking it. It's about shifting your identity, your self-image, your emotional foundation. When your thoughts, beliefs, body, and actions align, that's when the field responds. That's when synchronicities begin. That's when the universe says yes, not because you forced it, but because you matched it. Your job is to become the living embodiment of the future you seek, without needing proof, without needing validation. That is the real spiritual wisdom behind manifestation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If what you desire hasn't arrived, it's not because the universe is late. It's because something within you is still resisting alignment. Your fear, your doubt, your emotional wounds may be blocking the transmission. So instead of chasing your desires, become them. Instead of trying to control outcomes, anchor your energy. Ask yourself, if I already had it, how would I feel? And then feel that now. Live from that frequency. Speak from that identity. Breathe from that inner truth. Jung's work reminds us that real change doesn't come from outer effort. It comes from inner transformation. This is what spiritual embodiment really means. You don't just think differently, you are different. The shift happens not when you convince the universe, but when you convince yourself. When your inner world becomes so stable, peaceful, and clear, your outer reality has no choice but to mirror it. That's the moment manifestation stops being a mystery and becomes a natural reflection of who you've become. If this message resonates with you, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video that helps you align with your highest self. Type in the comments, "I am aligned with the reality I desire," to anchor your embodiment and start manifesting from within. 8. You become the miracle. The long silence was not a punishment. It was sacred preparation. Every delay, every unanswered prayer, every painful wait wasn't holding you back. It was reshaping you. While it felt like life had paused, your soul was in motion. The universe wasn't withholding your destiny. It was forming you into the person capable of holding it. Nothing was wasted. The heartbreaks, the setbacks, the nights spent in confusion and surrender were not obstacles. They were sacred tools in your becoming. You weren't waiting for a breakthrough. You were the breakthrough in progress. You no longer have to chase transformation because you are the transformation. You've outgrown begging for signs, begging for change, begging for someone to choose you. Your presence is now the answer. You are no longer asking for the door to open. You've become the door. That is spiritual wisdom. When the miracle stops being something outside of you and starts becoming who you are. The old you was waiting for a reward. The new you is the reward. Life doesn't owe you anything. It simply reflects what you have become. And now, what's coming isn't compensation for your suffering. It's a reflection of your evolution. What you attract now is different because you are different. Your frequency has changed. You no longer seek validation because you've remembered your value. You no longer crave attention because you've reclaimed your energy. The world mirrors your vibration, not your desire. You don't manifest from longing. You manifest from embodiment. What's ahead of you will look like a gift, but it's actually a mirror of your self-worth, your growth, your healing, and your spiritual wisdom. The universe doesn't give based on begging. It gives based on becoming. And you, through every quiet season, every dark night of the soul, have become. So when you look at what is unfolding, don't be surprised. Be aware. You're not lucky. You're aligned. You didn't force this. You allowed it. You became it. The version of you that once prayed for change has stepped aside to make room for the version of you who is the change. That's why life looks different. That's why people treat you differently. That's why doors are opening. Why energy feels lighter. Why opportunities now arrive unannounced. Because you no longer vibrate in desperation, you vibrate in truth. To affirm the power of who you've become, comment below, "I am the miracle." Let it be a declaration of your growth and a reminder to others that transformation begins within. And remember this, the universe is never punishing you. It's preparing you. Every delay, every obstacle, every emotional trigger is a test of your readiness to receive the life you've asked for. When you begin to respond with awareness instead of reaction, you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You're aligned with transformation. If this message resonated with you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos that continue to guide your awakening journey. Stay grounded, stay faithful, and trust the process. 8 signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt a strange twist in your gut when someone complimented you? As if their words didn't match the energy behind them? That's not paranoia. It's your intuition sensing the shadow self that Jung spoke of. The hidden envy, resentment, and secret competition masked by fake smiles. In today's video on Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore 8 subtle signs that someone close to you may secretly hate you. These insights aren't just warnings. They're keys to self-protection and emotional clarity. Have you ever experienced this before? Drop your story or thoughts in the comments. We're here to grow and awaken together. Chapter 1. Sarcasm as contempt. When someone close to you constantly masks cruelty as comedy, it's not affection, it's contempt. Sarcasm, when used as a weapon, is one of the most overlooked signs of hidden hostility. These are not harmless jokes. They are precision attacks disguised as playfulness, aimed directly at your insecurities. The words may sound light, but the impact is heavy. You laugh along, but deep down, your soul feels a sting it cannot ignore. The phrase, "it was just a joke," becomes a recurring shield they hide behind. Every time you wince or shrink, they pull it out like a get-out-of-jail-free card. But these jokes always seem to land where you're most vulnerable. Your appearance, your ambitions, your values. It's not random. It's targeted. And when the humor consistently makes you feel small, anxious, or ashamed, that's no accident. It's emotional manipulation. Their sarcasm is a quiet way of controlling the emotional climate, of keeping you off balance without ever getting their hands dirty. Carl Jung taught us about the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we deny and project onto others. Sarcastic jabs often reveal more about the one delivering them than the one receiving them. Behind every joke that cuts too deep lies suppressed envy, insecurity, or resentment. Instead of confronting those emotions within themselves, these individuals direct them at you. And because it's wrapped in humor, You're made to feel guilty for noticing, as if your discomfort is the real problem. But your intuition doesn't lie. When your gut tightens, when your spirit dims in someone's presence, pay attention. The person who constantly teases you might not be teasing at all. They might be bleeding their shadow into your light. And no matter how polished their smile or casual their tone, the damage adds up. Over time, you begin to shrink, not just around them, but within yourself. True connection uplifts. It doesn't hide daggers and laughter. If someone's humor consistently makes you feel diminished, that's a red flag one that shouldn't be brushed off with, "They didn't mean it." Because the truth is, they did. Maybe not consciously, but their shadow did. And your body felt it before your mind could explain it. Have you ever laughed along with someone, only to walk away feeling drained or insulted? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below saying, "I've felt this energy," so others know they're not alone, and so we can keep diving deeper into the hidden truths that protect our peace. Chapter 2. Subtle Sabotage. They don't stab you in the back. They slice your spirit with tiny paper cuts you're not supposed to notice. Again and again, they forget your big moments. They miss your graduation, your birthday, your product launch. When you need encouragement, they go silent. When you ask for advice, they offer suggestions that subtly nudge you in the wrong direction, disguised as help but designed to derail. This isn't random. It's not bad luck or forgetfulness. It's calculated, quiet sabotage. And the worst part? They smile through it all, making it harder for you to trust your own intuition. What makes it so hard to detect is the way they dress their neglect in politeness. They say things like, "I totally meant to be there," or "I just had something come up," again and again. But when it's their moment, they expect your full attention. They hold you accountable for their needs, but offer none of that accountability in return. At first, you make excuses for them. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they didn't know how important it was. But over time, a pattern emerges. And that pattern whispers a truth your soul already knows. They don't truly support you. They may not say it aloud, but their actions scream it. And their silence when you succeed? That silence is the loudest sound in the room. People like this erode your confidence, not with open criticism, but with invisible weight. When you talk about your dreams, they tilt their head and give you lukewarm encouragement, just enough to seem supportive, not enough to uplift. They might say, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Or, "That's a big risk, don't you think?" And when things go well, they minimize your wins. Anyone could have done that. You just got lucky. It's death by 1,000 dismissals. And somehow, you end up doubting yourself, questioning your worth, your ideas, your timing, when the real sabotage wasn't internal, but environmental. This behavior often stems from the shadow self that Carl Jung spoke about, a part of the human psyche that hides the things people don't want to admit, like jealousy, competition, and resentment. Rather than deal with those uncomfortable feelings directly, some people project them sideways, through sabotage cloaked as concern. They don't want to confront their envy, so instead, they undercut you slowly, hoping you'll fail quietly, so they won't have to feel left behind. This isn't always conscious, but it is dangerous. Because while you're busy being honest and open, they're busy plotting in silence, usually under the guise of friendship. In modern life, this shows up in close relationships more than we care to admit. A coworker who never shares credit, a sibling who always changes the subject when you talk about something you're proud of, a best friend who only calls when they need something. They don't argue. They don't insult you. They just fail you, little by little, until you shrink, until you stop asking, until you stop shining so bright, just to keep the peace. But real love doesn't ask you to dim your light. Real support doesn't vanish when you rise. These people are masters of disguise. And if you keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, you'll find yourself exhausted, insecure, and emotionally confused. That's the goal of quiet sabotage, to make you doubt yourself so much that you never notice it was them all along. That's why recognizing this pattern is crucial to your healing. Not everyone who smiles at you loves you. Not everyone who claps is happy for you. And not everyone who says, "I'm proud of you," means it in their heart. If someone in your life consistently makes you feel unsupported, confused, or deflated after interacting with them, don't ignore it. That's not just a feeling. That's your spirit picking up on something your eyes can't see. Don't wait for proof. Their energy is the evidence. Leave a comment below if this resonates with you, and write, "I choose aligned, loving connections," to affirm your commitment to the relationships that nourish your soul. Chapter 3. Silent competition. Every time you succeed, there's a flicker in their eyes, a pause in their cheer, a shift in their tone. They smile, but it feels like a mask. Because deep down, your success isn't something they celebrate. It's something they measure themselves against. You're not just growing. You're unknowingly challenging their self-worth. What you see as a win, they secretly take as a loss. And instead of cheering you on, they mentally prepare their counterstrike. A story about their own accomplishment, a subtle one-up, a reminder that you're not ahead they are, or at least they want to be. This is not friendship. This is a silent competition. It's not loud. It doesn't scream jealousy. It whispers it in every reaction that feels slightly off. You talk about something you're proud of, and suddenly they change the subject. You shine, and they dim the room just enough so no one notices. You feel drained, not because of your work, but because you're surrounded by someone who turns every moment into a scoreboard. They don't clap when you win. They calculate. They don't walk beside you. They race you in secret. And the finish line keeps moving because they're not in it for joy. They're in it for ego. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if maybe you're just too sensitive. But Carl Jung reminded us, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Their irritation with your growth reveals their refusal to grow. Their envy is not really about you. It's about the parts of themselves they've left abandoned. When your confidence enters the room, it confronts their insecurity. When your ambition speaks, it exposes their complacency. And that's why they compete. Because they don't know how to confront their own stillness. Instead of healing, they project. Instead of evolving, they compare. You were never trying to compete. You were just trying to become. But now, you're caught in an invisible war with someone who pretends to love you, but secretly resents your rise. And here's the dangerous part. You may begin shrinking yourself to keep the peace. You may water yourself down to be digestible to people who never intended to grow beside you. You may silence your joy so they don't feel small. But that's not your job. Your light is not a threat. It's a mirror. What they see in you reflects what they refuse to face in themselves. This is the energy that drains you without a word. The energy that hides behind compliments and claps, but always carries the undercurrent of envy. When hate wears the costume of friendship, it becomes a slow poison. It doesn't attack you, it erodes you. And if you're not aware, you'll normalize that erosion. You'll keep toxic people close because they never did anything wrong. But energy doesn't lie, and silence can scream louder than words. Pay attention. True friends don't compete, they inspire. They don't flinch at your glow, they amplify it. They don't feel threatened by your transformation. They celebrate it because they too are evolving. If your presence makes someone insecure, it's not your duty to dim. It's their responsibility to heal. Did you find this helpful? If so, please comment "awesome" below so we can continue to explore this kind of deep spiritual wisdom together. Chapter 4: Superficial Kindness. Their compliments sound sweet, but something in your gut twists. You hear, "I'm proud of you," or "You're amazing," yet there's a hollow echo behind the words. The smile on their face doesn't reach their eyes. You notice it, even if you try to brush it off. It's that quiet voice inside whispering, "They don't really mean it." This is not paranoia, it's intuition. Carl Jung believed that what we fail to bring into awareness will rule our lives in silence. That includes the hidden resentment behind polite smiles. True friends don't just say kind things. They radiate warmth when they say them. Real support is felt in the heart. Superficial kindness, on the other hand, feels like being hugged by someone who's emotionally checked out. You sense it when their energy doesn't match their words. The conversation feels scripted. They use the right phrases: "I support you," "You deserve it," "Good job." But their presence is missing. There's no real eye contact, no empathy in their voice. Everything about their interaction feels robotic, as if they're acting from obligation rather than care. According to Jung, this is the shadow self in action. Envy, frustration, and competition dressed up in politeness. And though they may never openly say a hurtful thing, their energy quietly drains you. You leave conversations with them feeling confused, like something just doesn't add up. You might begin to notice they only show up when it benefits them. They celebrate your success publicly, but privately, they go silent. When you're struggling, they offer vague support, but they're quick to disappear when you need real emotional presence. A person who secretly resents you won't attack you. They'll avoid you. Or worse, stay close enough to observe you, but far enough to never uplift you. They'll clap with the crowd, but you'll feel the pause in their applause. You'll sense the hesitation behind their congratulations. This kind of subtle sabotage is hard to explain, but your spirit feels the disconnect even if your mind can't find the proof. Their politeness starts to feel like a performance. Every kind word seems rehearsed. Every compliment feels like a transaction. You might start to wonder if you're imagining things, especially because nothing overt has happened, no betrayal, no harsh words. But that's the trick. The most dangerous hatred is not the loud kind, it's the quiet one, masked by etiquette. And if you ignore it long enough, it begins to erode your energy, self-trust, and emotional clarity. Because the truth is, love never needs a script, it flows. But resentment rehearses every word to appear clean on the surface. When someone's kindness lacks soul, when their support feels more like strategy than sincerity, it's not just awkward, it's toxic. And the longer you stay in their energy, the more your own spirit starts to dim. Jung reminds us that we must bring the shadow to light, or else it controls us from the dark. So when you feel that off vibe from someone who's nice, pay attention. You're not being overly sensitive. You're reading energy accurately. Energy doesn't lie. Words do. If you've ever felt the chill behind a warm smile, you're not alone. Subscribe for more insights on decoding fake kindness and building truly authentic connections. Chapter 5. Controlling through care. Their words sound like wisdom, but the result is always the same. Your dreams get smaller. You speak your truth. They nod with concern, and suddenly you're doubting yourself. They say it's for your own good, but somehow you always end up discouraged, hesitant, or quietly giving up on what lights you up inside. This isn't love, it's control, wearing the mask of protection. What they call advice is often their attempt to keep you in a place that feels safe for them, not for you. Carl Jung once said that people who can't manage their own inner chaos often try to control others to create the illusion of safety. Their inner disorder leaks outward, not through rage or obvious aggression, but through soft-spoken warnings, logical arguments, and carefully disguised fear. And because they sound calm and composed, you believe them. You internalize their fear as your own. You shrink, thinking it's maturity. You settle, thinking it's wisdom. But pay close attention. Their concern always flows in one direction, away from your expansion. They never say, "How can I help you grow into that?" They say, "Are you sure? That's risky. What if you fail?" They push you toward comfort, but never freedom. Behind every piece of their guidance is a hidden message. Don't change. Because if you change, you'll leave the version of yourself they know how to control. This kind of dynamic plays out everywhere in families, friendships, and romantic relationships. You tell your mother you want to leave your job and pursue your calling, and she says, "Just be grateful you have stability." You tell your partner you want to write a book, and they say, "You don't have time for that." You mention moving to another city, and your best friend looks away and says, "But everything you need is right here." And each time, you're left wondering if your desires are selfish, immature, or unrealistic. It's not just discouragement, it's emotional scripting. You start to believe that dreaming big is dangerous, that wanting more is a betrayal, that growing means losing love. And that's the real trap. When fear dresses up as care, you confuse control for closeness. Their shadow, the part of them that feels unsafe, insecure, and unworthy, reaches out and quietly steers your life. Not because they hate you, but because they haven't made peace with their own chaos. But you don't owe anyone your smallness. Your vision doesn't need their permission. And love, real love, will never stand in the way of your evolution. It won't cage you to feel secure. It won't shrink you to avoid abandonment. It will walk beside you, even if the path makes them uncomfortable. Because true care is not about control. It's about support, trust, and believing in your light, even when it outshines their shadow. If this message opened your eyes today, leave a comment of truth. I trust my path. I release control and walk boldly in my purpose. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful insights every week. Chapter 6. Gossip and criticism behind your back. They won't confront you directly. Instead, they chip away at your spirit with whispers. Their words creep through social spaces like smoke, twisting your intentions, reshaping your character, and planting suspicion in the minds of others. Suddenly, You're left wondering why the energy in the room shifts when you enter. Why do people hesitate before responding? Why do friends begin to feel distant? This isn't paranoia. It's a reaction to the silent sabotage of someone who pretends to support you, all while crafting a version of you that fits their insecurities. Carl Jung believed the shadow self holds all the parts of us we reject. And when someone refuses to face that darkness, it leaks out in manipulation and gossip. They don't just talk. They inject venom subtly, so it's not easily traced back to them. They say just enough to raise eyebrows, just enough to make others doubt you. Their smiles remain polite, but their words travel in secret, draining your relationships and your peace of mind. And the reason they do this? It's not your success, your kindness, or even your mistakes. It's the way your light exposes their unresolved wounds. These individuals avoid open conflict because confrontation would require honesty, and honesty would demand vulnerability. Instead, they manipulate perception. They isolate you, not by removing you, but by poisoning how others see you. It's slow, it's silent, and it works if you don't wake up to it. You start to second-guess your own intuition. You tone yourself down. You shrink to make the atmosphere lighter. But the truth is, what they say about you behind your back is a mirror of what they feel about themselves. Their criticism reveals their own shame. Their gossip reveals their jealousy. And here's the twist. They often frame their criticism as concern. "I'm just worried about her," they'll say, while tearing apart your choices. "I just think he's changing," they'll whisper, while resenting your growth. This kind of manipulation is dangerous because it sounds like care. But real care doesn't operate in the shadows. Real friends speak directly, protect your name, and tell you hard truths to your face, not to a crowd behind your back. If someone close to you is spreading rumors, twisting your words, or turning others against you without cause, they don't just dislike you, they resent you, maybe even hate you. And the more you rise, the more their shadow panics. You owe it to yourself to recognize these signs, not to seek revenge, but to protect your peace. Because being around someone who secretly hates you is like drinking poisoned water. It looks clear, but it's killing something inside you every day. Have you ever felt the sting of being misunderstood because of whispers you never heard but felt? If this message speaks to your heart, share your experience in the comments so others know they're not alone. And if you've ever stayed silent while someone twisted your truth, comment, "I choose truth," and let's stand strong together. Chapter 7. No joy in your success. They smiled when you were broken. They clapped when you were trying. But now that you're actually succeeding, they're nowhere to be found. That silence isn't a coincidence, it's a message. When someone close to you quietly withdraws as you rise, it's often because your growth is confronting something they haven't dealt with inside themselves. Carl Jung called it the shadow of the hidden parts of the psyche we disown, but end up projecting onto others. And your light has now become a threat to their darkness. They didn't mind you climbing when they thought you'd never make it. In fact, they were comfortable as long as you were beneath them or struggling beside them. But now, your success exposes their stagnation. Your happiness reminds them of their discontent. You haven't done anything wrong, but in their eyes, you've become too much, too bold, too blessed, too free. And instead of cheering, they retreat. They make excuses. They distance themselves. Not because you've changed, but because you've outgrown the version of you that made them feel safe. It often starts subtly, the congratulations become quieter. The responses to your joy feel forced or rehearsed. When you share your wins, they switch the subject. When you celebrate, they downplay. It's not just what they say, it's what they don't say. Silence in moments of your joy speaks louder than applause during your pain. Because when someone's heart is secretly competing with you, your success doesn't inspire them. It wounds them. And yet, they were always available when you were hurting. When life hit you hard, they had time. When you doubted yourself, they were there with words. But now that you believe in yourself, now that you're shining, they disappear. Because your light reveals their inner chaos. Carl Jung believed that people who can't handle their own inner turmoil often try to suppress or distance themselves from the people who remind them of what they could be. Your success becomes a mirror they don't want to look into. True friends grow with you. They evolve alongside you. They're not intimidated by your wings. They help you fly. But envious ones, they won't attack you. They'll just fade. They'll use phrases like, "I'm just busy," or "You've changed," to mask what they really feel, left behind. Their emotional withdrawal isn't about boundaries. It's about bruised egos. Your joy bruises their pride. And instead of doing the work to heal, they choose the easier route: silence, distance, and quiet resentment. But your progress is not an offense. Your happiness is not a betrayal. And their discomfort is not your burden to carry. You don't have to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable in your light. You weren't meant to stay small so others could feel big. If they can't clap when you win, they were never truly on your team. Growth will always reveal who was clapping from the heart and who was clapping for control. Their silence is their confession. Their distance is their decision. And your continued rise is your truth. Keep climbing. Keep glowing. Let your joy be loud, even if it makes others quiet. Because the ones meant for you will never fear your light. They'll reflect it. Comment below. I celebrate my growth unapologetically if you're done shrinking to make others comfortable. Let's rise boldly and in truth together. Chapter 8. Body language never lies. Their words may say, "I'm happy for you," but their body speaks a different truth. The smile they flash is tight. Their eyes avoid yours. The energy in the room shifts subtly, but unmistakably. You feel it. It's not what they said. It's how they said it, how they stood, how they looked away just a second too long. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious reveals itself when the conscious tries to hide. And that's exactly what happens when hidden resentment slips through the cracks of polite conversation. You don't need a psychology degree to pick up on these signals. Your intuition already knows. The gut twist you feel isn't random. The unease in your chest isn't paranoia. It's your body translating microsignals. Stiff posture, crossed arms, delayed responses, shallow compliments. These aren't accidental. They are the unconscious body's confession. The body can't lie, even when the mouth does. And yet, so often, we second-guess ourselves. We tell ourselves they're just tired, distracted, or going through something. But patterns reveal truth. When someone consistently reacts to your wins with tension or withdrawal, you're not imagining it. Their resentment may be silent, but it's not invisible. It shows in the way they change the subject when you share good news. It reveals itself in the forced smile when others praise you. It leaks out in their lack of enthusiasm, the emotional vacancy behind the congratulations. Real friends don't compete with your light. They rise with it. When you grow, they feel inspired, not threatened. When you shine, they don't squint, they celebrate. That emotional presence, that shared joy, is the mark of authentic connection. On the other hand, someone who secretly harbors resentment will always find ways to dim the moment, not by shouting, not by arguing, but by slowly pulling back their energy, their support, their warmth. This silent withdrawal becomes more painful over time, because it's not just what they do, it's what they withhold. They don't clap when you rise. They don't ask how you feel. They don't celebrate your joy with full presence. Instead, they nod while secretly stepping away inside. And that distance is not physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's the kind of quiet sabotage that leaves you questioning your worth, your path, and even your perception. So watch the body. Feel the energy. Trust the space between the words, because the body never lies. The micro expressions, the energy pull, the hesitations reveal everything the mouth refuses to admit. When someone says, "I'm proud of you," but looks like they're in pain, listen to the look, not the sentence. When they say, "That's great news," but don't ask another question, hear the silence louder than the phrase. Your body knows, your intuition remembers, and your spirit feels every shift. The deeper lesson is this: you are not here to shrink for someone else's comfort. You're not meant to dull your light to protect someone else's shadow. So pay attention to what's unsaid, because that's where the truth lives. To affirm your trust in your inner wisdom, declare it now. Comment below, "I trust what I feel," to honor your intuition and inspire others to read beyond words and recognize the truth that body language reveals. Thank you for watching this eye-opening journey into the hidden layers of human emotion and energy. If any of these signs resonated with you, remember, trust your intuition, protect your peace, and never apologize for sensing what others try to hide. You deserve relationships built on authenticity, not secret resentment. If you found value in this message, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode that could shift your perspective and protect your energy. Until next time, stay wise, stay empowered.